Every single day, you do something no other animal on this planet does. You apply fire to food before you eat it. You don't think about it. You just do it. But that one habit, so ordinary you've never questioned it, is the reason your brain is the size it is right now. It's the reason you can read these words. It's the reason civilization exists at all. And the strangest part? We almost missed it entirely.
For most of human history, scientists assumed cooking was a relatively recent invention. A nice upgrade. A cultural development. Something humans figured out maybe 100,000 years ago, like pottery or agriculture. Useful, but not fundamental. Then, in 1999, a Harvard primatologist named Richard Wrangham published a hypothesis that the entire field of paleoanthropology had been ignoring for decades. Cooking didn't just change what humans ate, it changed what humans became. He called it the cooking hypothesis. And when you follow it all the way through, it rewrites almost everything we think we know about what made us human.
Here's where it starts. About 1.9 million years ago, something happened in the fossil record that nobody had a good explanation for. Homo erectus appeared, and Homo erectus looked almost nothing like the hominids that came before. The earlier species, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, had massive jaws, large teeth, small brains, and enormous digestive systems. They were built for raw food. Tough roots, fibrous plants, raw meat when they could get it. Homo erectus had smaller teeth, a smaller jaw, a much shorter digestive tract, and a brain nearly twice the size of anything that came before. In 1.9 million years of the fossil record, this is one of the most dramatic physical transformations in human prehistory. It happened fast, and nobody could fully explain why. Wrangham's answer was fire. Not fire as a tool for warmth or protection, though it was both of those things too. Fire as a technology for pre-digesting food before it ever entered the body. Here's the biology of what cooking actually does. When you eat a raw carrot, your body extracts roughly 40% of the calories it contains. Cook that same carrot, and your body extracts close to 100%. The heat breaks down the cellular walls, unravels the proteins, gelatinizes the starches. Your gut receives something it can process immediately, instead of spending hours grinding through it. The same is true for meat. Raw meat requires enormous muscular effort to chew and an extensive digestive process to break down. Cooked meat is soft. It yields quickly. The proteins are already partially denatured before digestion even begins. What this means, biologically, is enormous. Your digestive system is one of the most metabolically expensive organs in your body. It consumes energy constantly just to exist and function. If you shift the pre-processing of food outside the body, using fire instead of gut, your digestive system can shrink, and the energy it was consuming gets redirected toward the organ that costs the most energy of all, your brain. The human brain is extraordinary and absurd in equal measure. It makes up roughly 2% of your body weight. It consumes 20% of your total energy. For any other primate, running a brain this large would be metabolically impossible on a raw diet alone. Chimpanzees spend 6 to 8 hours every single day just chewing. Their digestive systems are massive relative to body size. The energy budget required to power a human-sized brain simply doesn't exist on raw food. There aren't enough hours in the day to eat enough of it. But cooking changed the equation. Suddenly, the same amount of food yielded dramatically more calories. Suddenly, digestion required less time, less muscular effort, less gut tissue. Suddenly, there was energy available that had never existed before in the hominin budget. And nature, given surplus energy in millions of years, did what it always does with surplus energy. It spent it on the brain. Wrangham's argument, backed by fossil evidence, is that the emergence of Homo erectus, smaller gut, smaller jaw, dramatically larger brain, is not a coincidence. It is a direct physical record of what happens to a body when cooking becomes part of life.
But it didn't stop there, because cooking didn't just change the body, it restructured the entire social world of early humans. Think about what cooking requires. It requires fire. Fire has to be maintained. Someone has to tend it. It requires that food be prepared before it's eaten. That means delayed consumption. That means someone has to trust that what they set down will still be there when it's ready. It requires cooperation. For a species that had spent millions of years operating on the principle of eat it immediately or lose it, cooking introduced something completely new, a shared future. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner, whose work on campfire conversations we already know, found that the moment fire and food combine, the social dynamics of a group change completely. People sit together, they wait together, they talk. The hearth becomes the organizing center of the group. It's not incidental that every human culture on Earth, without exception, has a tradition of gathering around food and fire. It's not custom, it's not coincidence. It's biology expressing itself through behavior that's 1.9 million years old. There's a darker layer here too. Cooking created dependency. Once your body evolved to run on cooked food, raw food became insufficient. This is not a metaphor. This is physiology. Studies of modern humans who adopt 100% raw food diets find that a significant percentage, some estimates reach 50%, cannot maintain a healthy body weight long term. Our gut simply isn't sized to extract enough calories from unprocessed food anymore. We evolved past the point of return. Homo erectus, once fire became part of the diet, could not go back. If the fire went out and stayed out, the group died. This created an entirely new kind of pressure. Not predator pressure, not resource pressure, social pressure. You had to maintain relationships with the people around the fire. You had to contribute. You had to be trustworthy enough that others would share their food with you, and that you would share yours with them. The social skills required to navigate a cooking group, reciprocity, fairness, reading intention, managing conflict, are exactly the skills modern humans are extraordinarily good at, and exactly the skills no other primate comes close to matching. Some researchers now argue that the demands of life around a shared hearth are one of the primary drivers of human social intelligence, not just brain size, but the specific kind of brain we built. And then there's time. Raw food animals spend the majority of their waking hours acquiring and processing food. A gorilla in the wild eats for roughly 8 hours a day. It has to. That's what it takes to survive on unprocessed vegetation. Early humans who began cooking freed themselves from that constraint. If a meal that would have taken 4 hours to chew now takes 40 minutes, you have 3 hours back every single day. Multiplied across a group, multiplied across generations. That is an enormous amount of time that suddenly has no biological instruction attached to it. What do you do with 3 extra hours? You talk. You plan. You make things. You practice. You imagine. The cognitive surplus created by cooking is, some researchers argue, the first opening through which culture could enter. Before cooking, every hour was spoken for by survival. After cooking, for the first time in the history of the genus, there was time left over, and we filled it with everything that makes us what we are.
Here's what makes all of this feel strange when you actually sit with it. Every other major human trait we tend to attribute to intelligence, or culture, or choice. We became smart because we were smart. We built civilization because we were ambitious. We developed language because we were social. But cooking is different. Cooking is a physical intervention that preceded the brain that could fully understand what cooking was. Homo erectus did not sit down and reason through the caloric benefits of thermal food processing. They found cooked food, possibly from natural fires, and they ate it.
And then, over hundreds of thousands of years, their bodies quietly reorganized themselves around that habit. The brain that can understand the cooking hypothesis is itself a product of cooking. We used fire to build the mind that could eventually study fire.
The last piece is the one that should probably unsettle you a little. Every cuisine in human history, every recipe ever written, every meal ever shared, the roast your grandmother made, the bread that takes 3 days to ferment, the broth that simmers for hours, none of it is decoration.
All of it is the continuation of a process that started nearly 2 million years ago, when some ancestor of yours held food over a flame for the first time and changed the trajectory of a species. You cook because you are the kind of animal that cooks, and you are the kind of animal that cooks because something a long time ago first did it by accident and survived better because of it and passed that survival on. Every meal you've ever eaten is the latest chapter in that story. You just never knew you were reading it.